in my 40s, I said to my sister, like, I give up. Like, I can't find what I'm meant to be doing. What do you think? You know, because me trying to work it out isn't working. And she's like, she goes, I think you should do what you've done in pubs for the last 20 years and just try and make people laugh on stage. She goes, you should do stand-up. And I said, look, I don't think I can. I go, what would I talk about? And she goes, just talk about how you've stuffed up your life, Billy.
Hey folks, there's an awesome end-of-season footy tournament happening in Thailand later this year, and you don't want to miss this one. The Australia's #1 globally touring Masters football club, the Slugs, they're playing an end-of-season footy tournament in Phuket on October 26th. It's for over 35s, and it's a 12-a-side one-day tournament involving teams across Asia at the beautiful Alan Cook Ground, one of the truly unique sports grounds in the world. It's where Masters footy meets paradise. For more details, check out the Southern Slugs Football Club Facebook page and get involved. Thank you so much to our new sponsor, the Woodville Districts Basketball Club. They compete in South Australia's junior and senior basketball competitions. They're one of just 10 member clubs in Basketball SA's competitions. They provide complete pathways from 6-year-olds to seniors to state and national representation, and I happen to be their court announcer. Hey folks, today we're joined by a man who's sold out Melbourne comedy festivals. He's one of Melbourne's favourite comedians, mainly because of his laid-back nature and his love of sport. Everyone seems to love him. He's got that relatable kind of nature about him. His name is Billy Stiles. Billy, welcome to Comedy Legends with Bevo, mate.
Thanks for having me, Bevo. Good to be here.
Now, where the heck are you, mate? Because I can see beach houses in the background and I feel like you're on the beach. What is happening?
Mate, Well, I've just set this gig up, so if I look a bit sweaty, that's why. I've just set up this gig at Blair Gowrie down in Victoria in the Mornington Peninsula there. So that's where I am. I'm sitting in my car just outside the gig, so I had to rush to get that done. So I've double booked myself as I do, and now I'm sitting here. But I'm good for hours now. I'm way early for the gig, so there's no hurry.
I love that. Which part of Melbourne do you live currently, Billy?
I live in Camberwell at the moment, but I'm from a suburb called Bundoora, which is out towards sort of the north side near the airport, kind of.
Okay, yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, tell us a bit more about yourself and how you got into your comedy and I guess the influences that got you into it. And speaking off air, you said your sister had a fair bit to do with it as well. You want to explain that a bit more?
Oh yeah, so I started late. Like a lot of people sort of have the goal of being a comedian from a young age that you meet, but I actually started in my 40s late on the insistence of my sister, because like it was never a goal of mine, but I look, I wasn't much good at anything else job wise. So in my 40s, I said to my sister, like, I give up. Like, I can't find what I'm meant to be doing. What do you think? Because me trying to work it out isn't working. And she's like, she goes, I think you should do what you've done in pubs for the last 20 years and just try and make people laugh on stage. She goes, you should do stand-up. And I said, look, I don't think I can. I go, what would I talk about? And she goes, just talk about how you've stuffed up your life, Billy. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. And so, look, it took me, and even after that, it took me years to get the guts to get up and do it. But I said to her, I'll try it, but it's if I'm wrong, it's on you, And unfortunately, the first gig went well.
Oh, right. That's a rarity, because quite often I've spoken to legendary comedians and they've told me that they absolutely bombed in their first gig. So what made it go so well?
I think fear, mainly. I thought I can't fail. Like I can't fail at another thing. I thought so I prepared. I mean, like I said, it took years to work up the guts. And plus at my age, I had so much material. I felt like, yeah, it was. I think it's a bit easier if you start late to have, because you kind of know what older people laugh at, younger people laugh at, and people in the middle laugh at. So I had that, but the fear drove me. I was just terrified of standing there to silence, but it was terrifying. I can still remember.
Where was the first gig, mate?
It was at a place called Howler. It was a raw comedy heat, and it was at a place called Howler in Brunswick, and I can still remember what the coasters looked like on the table before I went on. I was just staring at them, thinking, "What are you doing?" So yeah, that was it.
And what was the show? What was your material? What was your go-to?
Oh, the jokes. I think I talked about a lot because I remember I'd just given up drinking at the time. I think I spoke about that kind of stuff, but I can't remember the exact set because you only get 5 minutes at Raw. But I remember I had it timed down to 4 minutes and 46, give or take. So I was not staying on a minute longer than I had to.
And
So, yeah.
explain the nerves, because I must admit, mate, I was supposed to do a gig for Jared Goundry, I think at the start of this year or late last year, I can't remember when it was, and I wussed out. I got cold feet, and I think he always likes to remind me about it as well. I'm sure you know Jared. Everyone seems to know Jared Goundry now, and so credit to you for actually going ahead with it. But yeah, explain the nerves going into that gig, and then that feeling afterwards, knowing you'd nailed it.
Yeah, no, Tara, I like, when you've got a dentist appointment and you just don't want it to come around. That
Yep.
was how I felt as soon as I entered Raw Comedy. I thought about it literally every minute, every day for about 6 months. And then it's horrific. It's the worst. I don't know how I did it, to be honest, because I wasn't a kid that was ever in a school play, or I failed year levels of school because you had to do a talk in class, like I'm in February or March when I find out we're doing a talk in year 9, and I'm like, oh, well, I've failed the whole year then because I'm not doing that.
That's incredible.
Yeah. The nerves were horrific, but the feeling afterwards was equally good. So that feeling I hadn't had since I'd played sport as a kid. I hadn't had that exhilaration. So that made me keep going. But I soon found out every gig wasn't good.
Explain that in a bit more detail. What you're talking about? Getting heckled, or
yeah, down the track I did a few memorable heckles. Yeah, I went to like an open mic. So Raw Comedy, there's 100 people there. So you walk in, and they're very supportive because a lot of people are just starting, and so I'm getting cheered and clapped, and I'm thinking, oh, comedy's easy. Here we go. I found my calling. And then the third gig, I went to like an open mic in Footscray, and it was just like 8 punters, disinterested, not looking at me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not that good, but luckily there hasn't been too many like that. I always had this rule that if I do 3 bad ones in a row, I'm quitting.
That's fair enough. That's probably one of the biggest things that scare me about comedy, and I've got so much respect for people like you and others that keep going through it. And yeah, like you said before, that situation where, like I've done emceeing at weddings before, and I've told jokes which half the room laughed at and others wanted to kill you. So how do you overcome those situations?
You say, I'm better than everyone in this crowd. They haven't got the guts to do this. No. I say, look, the nerves didn't go for me for a long time, even after that. It's not like you do it once and you think you're not nervous anymore. Like, even 5 years in, I would still sometimes say to the MC, can you not call my name? I don't want to do this. And then I got to the stage where I had to go see a doctor about my nerves and that, because I was going to quit. Like, because other comedians were saying, you're too nervous, Billy, to me. And this is after I'd done it for 5 years.
Wow.
That's
amazing. But you perform with some of Australia's biggest names, like, Pete Hellier, who we see now in The Amazing Race, the Celebrity Special, and lots of big name comedians. So it goes to show that you're doing well.
Yeah, well, they say walk towards the fear, I guess. For me, it really was. And me and Peter Hellier actually grew up in the same suburb, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Played for the same footy team and stuff.
So you're actually pretty good mates with him?
Oh, he went to the private school. I went to the high school. But I'd see him at footy training and that. Like, I knew the family. But, yeah, they lived close by. And then, it's funny that we do gigs. And Sam Pang as well, grew up playing sport with him and against him as well. So there was a few of us in that area that got into like this industry as well.
Brilliant. And what are they
Yeah,
like? Good guys? Have they helped you out?
yeah. They'll look. Pete's a really nice guy, and Sam's a good guy. They're both different characters, but yeah, they have. And Hughesy, I play tennis. Dave Hughes and Dave O'Neill's been a big mentor of mine. But I play tennis with Dave Hughes on a weekly basis now. Hughesy,
Oh,
pretty competitive.
he's got his shoulder sorted.
Yeah, yeah. He's come back, and so we're having a hit now. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, I pick their brains when I can. Even early days, I did, especially when I'd meet those guys. I was lucky enough to pick Jamoan up from Wagga Wagga Airport a couple of years ago, and I spent 2 hours in the car with Jamoan. So that was a real pinch yourself moment, you know.
Yeah, wow.
Um,
What's he
mm.
actually like away from the comedy shows? Has he got a serious side to him?
Yeah, 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 serious, but he loves jokes. Like he just loves comedy. He loves jokes. Like he was just telling me jokes on the way there, like joke book ones and that. Like he just loves it all. It's he's not he's always thinking about it, Jamal. And it was like it was it was funny. So many times I was on that drive, I'm like, I can't believe Jamoan's sitting next to me. That's insane.
Yeah, I had a sort of bit of a similar moment last year with being in the same car as Ian Botham. So Ian Botham, and that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So just
How
yeah,
where'd you take both? And did you pick him up from the airport or something?
a friend of mine did, and I was lucky enough to be involved in a sportsman's gig over here in SA that Botham was the speaker for. So
Yeah.
yeah, got to have a really good chat and signed a cricket bat for me, and yeah, great fella. So sort of similar situation to Jamal, and both absolute legends.
Yeah, there's a fine line between asking them too much and not enough in that situation. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
you can make them feel uncomfortable both ways.
Yeah, definitely a kid in a candy shop moment though, for sure. So
Both of them. Oh, yeah. They don't. Ian Botham was big in the 80s, wasn't he?
yeah, he's
Ian
huge.
Botham.
Hey, I want to get back to your journey again, Billy. So you mentioned before that you're now doing stand-up comedy. So I presume this is like a full-time thing. So you've given up full-time work to focus on your comedy. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I finally have. I was driving trucks and stuff up until a few years ago, and then I was just too tired all the time. Days like up, I was getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I'd be still on stage sometimes at 10 at night. And I was just exhausted all the time. And Dave O'Neill goes to me, "You've got to just quit your job." And
Wow.
like once again, as I said to my sister, I said, "All right, but if this doesn't work out, I'm living in your garage."
Because again, I've got so much respect for people like yourself, and Jared Gandry is another one who's a friend of mine who I've had in the
Mm.
past, and he's done a similar thing where he's just given up, working full time to just focus purely on the stand up comedy. Is there a bit of fear with that as well? Knowing that if a gig fails or if you're not getting gigs, you're basically not making money.
Yeah, I've got. I always have something to fall back on if I can to make money. Like I'll go if I do have weeks where I don't work comedy wise, I'll go out and do deliveries and stuff. I'll just I don't mind that either. It keeps me balanced because you got a lot of time on your hands too when you just do comedy. But me and Jared actually grew up. I mean, not grew up in comedy. We're the same comedy age, if you like. We travelled around doing a lot of the rural stuff. Me and Jared. He was actually there when we had one of the funniest moments on stage because we did an Outback tour and we weren't that experienced, but we thought we're just going to go out and get gigs in the country. And we went up to Burke, New South Wales, and we didn't know anything. We just thought, oh, they want to see us, we'll go up. And we went up to Burke. We knew there was a bit of a problem. We knew the town was different when they had bulletproof glass on the bottle shop window, on the bottle shop fridge, and but that particular gig, I was on stage and a brawl. Someone just yelled out from the front bar while I was on stage, "Fight!" And then the whole crowd just took off and ran into the front bar to watch the fight. So I just put the mic back in the mic stand and sat down. So that was Burke.
As you do.
What that? Yeah. So that was one of the experiences. But yeah, we hit the road early and got some stage time that way.
Have you had some other interesting moments in terms of stories you want to share?
Yeah, I say that would probably be the most interesting, but you do I've had a couple up around the Shepparton area, up in the Goulburn Valley, where they've just, one or two blokes just in the front row decided that they're going to tell me how I'm not that funny, you know. And that's I've only had two real bad hecklers, and they were both in Shepparton. So I don't know what I've done to Shepparton, but
and you mentioned as well, just from chatting off air, that you've got ADHD, and that's sort of another part of your comedy routine. Explain that in a bit more as well, Billy.
Oh yeah, so when I mentioned before that I had to go to the doctors about my nerves and stuff, like that was part of it. I think I got diagnosed. Yeah, during while I've started comedy, I got diagnosed with ADHD, and they medicated me for that, and it cured my nerves straight away. So that was interesting, and I talk about that on stage a lot, the diagnosis and stuff, because I like never really suspected that I had ADHD, but it was funny. That was a side effect of the meds, that my nerves were no longer there. It was strange.
Yeah.
So a lot of it had come from just anxiety from brain chemicals, the nerves.
Yeah, there you go.
So I wouldn't. Ironically, I would never have got to comedy if I got diagnosed earlier. I don't think I would have just functioned normally in society.
Yeah.
I probably would have been managing a successful Hungry Jack's store by now.
And what about life growing up? Were you a funny guy? Were you sort of that class clown in school? And was there someone growing up that you idolised? Was there like an Eddie Murphy or someone you used to look up to when you were a young fella?
I wasn't really a comedy fan. More, I was a sports fan. But I wouldn't say class clown. I was disruptive. Like I was never a good student. Like, even though mum's a school teacher and she tried, but so I could never study and stuff. So I was disruptive. Now, none of my idols were comedy. They were sport. John McEnroe, footy and tennis were my main, and cricket. But all the idols came from there. But they all had attitudes, like generally. Like McEnroe was my number one. He was, and I always liked the footy players with attitude, like an Alan Jakovic or someone like that.
Mark Jacko Jackson.
Oh yeah, Mark Jacko Jackson. Have you ever seen the match where Jacko's getting cans thrown at him by the Essendon cheer squad?
No, I haven't. No.
So it's at Windy Hill, and it's about 83 or something. I was there with my dad, and that was like we had to rush out of the ground because it was just chaos. Like Jacko started chaos with the Essendon cheer squad, and they're throwing beer cans at him.
Imagine that these days.
I know that it's hard to imagine that it's so sanitized compared to what it used to be, but yeah, footy was good back then. I still like it, but nothing like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love it still these days, but you're right. That era was just so unique, and you don't sort of get those same characters these days.
Now, who do you follow?
The Mighty Power.
So are you a Port Magpies man from way back?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, spot on. Yep.
Oh yeah. I love the SANFL. Especially the old SANFL back in the because Melbourne are blue and red. I was a Norwood fan,
right?
And we used to see the grand final and that from on TV and stuff. And I was a big Norwood man, but Port Magpies were always the success, and they'd won all the flags and that. But I loved from Norwood. I loved Gary McIntosh.
Yeah.
And Aish.
Yeah.
I loved it. People can't believe how much I know about the SANFL, but it was just from being like a sort of kid on the spectrum that loved. I just used to take in stats, and it's funny. I did a gig in Whittlesea the other night, and I was chatting to this guy, and footy came up as it normally does out in the country, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I played a few games for Collingwood," and I go, "Oh yeah, what's your name?" He goes, "Oh, Chris Dawkin," and I go, "Oh yeah, number 47 from Ararat," and he goes, "How do you know this?" I said, I think I Googled you not long ago. He couldn't believe I knew him. But he went to Port Magpies, he said, and he had it might have been John Cale or whoever was coaching 85. I can't remember who was coaching Port in 85. It was Cale, or who's the other legend that coached there?
Russell Ebert.
Russell Ebert. I think Russell Ebert maybe.
Yeah,
loved the SANFL. Spotted Dwayne Russell at one of my gigs once and made a beeline straight for him after I got off stage.
Oh, unreal.
Started drilling him about Port Adelaide and State of Origin matches back in the 80s. And he's a great guy to talk footy with.
Yeah, he's a good fella, Dwayne.
Dwayne Russell, yeah.
Yeah.
Played Geelong.
And so what's been happening in 2023 for you? You had quite a few Big gigs?
The other 24, you mean, or last year?
Oh, did I say 23? Sorry, 24. Yeah. Yeah.
You missed. Yeah, yeah, quite a few. Done a few theatres and stuff. We're doing some town halls and stuff. Doing a tour with a group. Did sort of Swan Hill and there's big and a few in Sydney and stuff. So yeah, doing a bit, getting around a bit, which is what I like to do.
And you ever been to an Adelaide Fringe?
Yeah, I went to my first this yeah, this year. I travelled over for a few days, but I'm doing my show there next year. Not it's called Not Normal. It's about me. So I'm doing that next year for a week, I think, hopefully.
Oh, brilliant. We have to get you into the studio and do it in person, mate.
Yeah, mate, it'll probably be better lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
Than I've got here in the Kia Sportage. But no, I like it. I love Adelaide, like I do. It's a really nice place and quiet. It's more my speed.
And the Fringe is great as well. It's such a buzz.
Yeah, I know. I went to those. How they got it in the parks. You know what? The Garden of something.
Garden of Unearthly Delights.
Yeah, and the other side was something else. But yeah, I did. I actually drove. I got up at 6 a.m, drove to Adelaide, did a spot in one of those tents on 40-degree heat at 4 p.m. So I'd literally got straight out of the car sweating and walked on stage, and I couldn't believe there were people in the crowd, but it was great.
Unreal. And so what's your show going to be about for next year's Adelaide Fringe, Billy? Can you give us a bit of an insight?
Well, Not Normal is just about my struggles and sort of what got me to the stage, like a lot about what we spoke about and how just mistakes I've made and yeah, just how hard it was trying to function in life without sort of any direction for so long. Yeah.
And how have you overcome those sort of challenges?
Drugs mainly. No, no. I mean, look, I didn't overcome them for a long time and comedy would give me the focus to overcome them. All I needed was to be creative. But I just didn't have that after sport ended. I played a lot of sport as a kid, but then when that ended, sort of, I didn't have anywhere to direct it. I had no passion, so like, it was really hard to overcome it. Did what most blokes do: work 9 to 5, go to the pub Friday, go again Saturday, sometimes go again Sunday if I've got any money left, you know. And then, yeah, it was hard. So comedy has been a blessing. I'm grateful for it. To find it, I reckon you should get on stage if you want to do it. Like just walk towards it, even though it's terrifying.
Well, I just got told that like my jokes aren't funny.
They're not. You're scared they're not. You don't know till you say them, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I guess like I've got lots of stories to tell. You know, my mates would find it funny, but whether other people would find it funny, that's the thing, isn't it? So
that's the risk, isn't it?
Yeah. No, you're right.
That's where if you knew you were going to be funny, what's the fun in that?
Yeah.
You know?
And what about when you were, a truck driver? Did that sort of inspire you to come up with some stories for your shows and that as well?
Yeah, most of it does. A lot of it does come. A lot of it just comes from everyday life. Like I'm not a big writer. Like I don't sit down and write. I'll just sort of, it'll come from life experiences that I find absurd and insane. A lot of it just comes from that kind of stuff.
Before we finish up, Billy, who's been the biggest name you've performed with on stage so far and why?
Well, I've got all of them. I've performed with pretty much all of them. Jamal and Dave Hughes, Dave O'Neill, Halia, all of them. But I'd love to perform with Carl Barron would be the one. The one that I
Carl Barron about you.
Yeah, maybe he probably influenced me. If there was anyone, I like the way he looks at life. So yeah, that'd be the icing on the cake, I reckon. But all those names, yeah, they're all good people too. So comedians are good people generally. They're easy to talk to and stuff like that because we're all faulty, you know, and not afraid to talk about it.
And before we finish up as well, Billy, how can people follow you and find out more about the Billy Stiles?
I'll get on Instagram, Facebook. It's the other one. Yeah, you can find me. Google me. You can find me. It's not hard. You know what I mean? But just not enough people are trying out there at the moment. Try harder.
I love it, mate. Well, I look forward to meeting in person when you come over for the Adelaide Fringe next year and go the power, hey?
Go the power. Oh, this Friday. Yeah, go the power this Friday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully. Well, you never know. They could get to a granny.
And your Norwood play on Sunday.
Do they?
Yeah.
Where's that at?
The grand final at Adelaide Oval against Glenelg.
Going Norwood.
Yeah.
Who's coaching? Not any of the old stages still there?
Nah, Jade Rawlings now is the coach of Norwood.
Jade Rawling.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, can't. Yeah, it doesn't not the same as Gary McIntosh, is he?
No, exactly.
But good, go the Redlegs. But yeah, no, I'll definitely say hi at the Fringe. Hopefully, you've got on stage by then.
We'll see. We'll talk off air.
All right, mate. Thanks for having us.
No, thanks for the chat, mate, and all the best with your gig tonight as well, and the rest of 2024.
No worries. Cheers, Bevo.